Fiction, science fiction, horror, fantasy, crime, LGBT, thriller.
You have now entered the House of Mystery with your hosts, Eric Shapiro, David North Martino, John Copenhaver, and Al Warren. 106.5 FM Los Angeles,
102.3 FM Riverside,
and 105.0 AM Palm Springs.
Welcome back into the House of Mystery. I'm Al Warren, Mr. Dave. Dollar Store Dave. You're waiting for the name of the day.
Yeah, what is the name of the day?
Well,
the name du jour.
Yeah, Dollar Store seems to be more famous, you know. We're getting a lot of emails about that too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. People are wondering, what is it with you and the Dollar Store and why? And people, you know what, the biggest comment is,
Yes.
why are you collecting media? Like, it's outdated, it's so old school.
Outdated?
Well, this is most of the comments either call you, okay, look, it's outdated, you're old.
Oh, that's true.
I've also got a couple, okay, boomer.
I'm Gen X.
I
okay.
know. I just thought it was funny. I think that's becoming just a term saying, hey, man, you're old.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
quite
okay.
get it. I mean, Dollar Store is a place where you get Blu-rays.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean,
That's right.
I sort of know what they're saying because I'm kind of like you too. It's nice to have the medium because you can't always find it.
That's right. And you own it.
Yeah.
And you watch it when you want to watch it.
That's
You're not
right.
tied to a streaming service.
Right. But you've got membership at the Dollar Store.
That's right.
I don't know. I don't see the big deal, but I just love it that they're jumping on you.
That's
about
good.
Why why are you buying the product? You don't need to buy it. Didn't anybody tell him?
A lot of times it comes with the digital media as well.
Ooh.
Yeah. And for
All for
$1.25.
$1.25.
How can you go wrong?
Yeah, what else do you have to live for? It's cheaper
That's
than
right.
a tank of gas. Cheaper than a Starbucks. Oh, they're
What can you get for $1.25 today?
I don't know. Can you get a black coffee now?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe at some stores. Lost leaders.
So I finally saw that John Wick 4. So you're right. And I actually didn't fast forward too much. So actually I liked it for the most part.
It's a fun action film.
Yeah. Fun
Did a
action.
good job with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I was okay with it. It was okay. But spoiler, is he really dead?
Probably not.
No, of course not.
Probably not. We'll have to see if there's a John Wick 5. Yeah.
So now, did you run up to the store this morning? I guess Stevie Nicks released her Barbie doll.
She released a Barbie doll?
Yeah, I thought for sure you'd be at the
No, I did not know this.
door crasher getting your first Barbie Stevie Nicks doll.
Wow. She was just in the area, too, with Billy Joel.
Well, there you go. You see, you missed out.
I'm going to run right out.
Yeah, I don't know what
I'd
you're
better.
doing. What are you waiting for? And that new dome opened up, hey, that
You were showing me that.
Sphere
Yeah.
in Vegas, and you two played. That looked pretty cool, hey? It's like a big
That's
eye
pretty neat.
inside. You see the concert, see how it all kind of looked. It looked pretty cool.
Would you do that, Al?
No. No.
That's what I thought.
No. It's a little too much for me. I'm getting too old.
You like a more intimate venue.
Yeah. But think about that. You could have watched your Oppenheimer in that.
Yeah. Oh, that'd have been awesome.
Yeah. I would have threw up a few times.
Right. You feel like you're falling the whole time.
And they caught the killer of Tupac.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
It only took 27 years.
Only 27. Right. Better late than never.
Well, yeah, of course. That's what I said, And we've got the guy that caught the killer. No, we don't.
He was getting nervous.
Yeah, what are they going to do with all those? I was noticing all these people because there's all these places on TikTok and there's all these people that have film of Tupac. He's still alive, right? So what are they going to do? I mean,
I don't
how can
know.
you convict the killer if he's still alive?
Live, exactly. Like Jim Morrison and Elvis.
We need a cop. Well, we have got a cop. No,
Yes.
kind of. Anyway, he's got lots of policing experience. He's writing now. He's doing a podcast. He's the guy to go to. Newest book, Blood Red Ivory, or that was his latest book. And we've got Mr. John Stamp here. So, hey, John, how are you?
Good. Thank you for having me. This is great.
Well, we haven't had you yet. That's coming up. No, so listen, I always wonder what leads a person into a career in policing, period, whether it be, military police or if it's regular, police or NCIS or in any sort of service toward policing a community or a country. Were you born into that?
It's not like a family thing. I was the first to go into law enforcement on my family. It was really, I don't know how it happened, but by like 9-10 years old, I was like, that's what I'm going to do. And just, I always wanted to. And whether it's growing up with too many TV shows and movies, or I do just kind of distinctly remember, that you're trying to figure out what to do with your life and going into careers and stuff like that. And growing up in upstate New York, I distinctly remember, very cold, snowy night, 5 inches of snow on the ground, and this lone police car just rolling through the night. Nobody else is around. It's desolate out there. It's too cold to even breathe outside. And I just remember thinking as a little kid, being like, whatever that guy's doing, he's probably getting into something cool. Just being the only person out there on the streets. Just if anything goes down, he's going to be a part of it. And I was like, that could probably be a pretty cool deal. And I just followed it ever since. And it was right. It's a very interesting gig. It's not always a fun gig, but it's a good way to spend 20 years.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, hey, it sounds like you have a love for it and you went for it. And I think that when you have a love for something, it's not like work. And that's why you say it's a fun gig. It's, you're trying to describe it and you're saying it's that, but it's because you love it. It doesn't feel like work all the time.
Yeah, and for me it was really just having something where I wasn't doing the same thing every day. As you get up there, get into that having to work for a living thing, I was just like, I don't want to be doing the same thing over and over and over again like a grind. I wanted to get out and be able to do different things, and the law enforcement is one of those things you never know what's coming over the radio or coming through coming from your boss to go do. So it just keeps it interesting, keeps it going. I've likened it to like having career ADHD. It's as long as there's something new to stimulate me, I'm pretty much on board.
What were the TV detectives or cops that you liked? Was it like Hawaii 5-0, or was it Kojak, or was there a certain policing chips where you like?
I did that. That's narrowing that generation down for me. I guess I'm an expert. I've never really looked at it too much, but yeah, I grew up in the 90s, the late 80s and 90s is when I was starting to pay attention to stuff. So crazy as it sounds, it was like Miami Vice and like 21 Jump Street and, and stuff like that. Like, Third Watch, I remember. Yeah. Those, and then, of course, John McClane, probably best cop ever lived, through Die Hard. It's like, oh, wait, if you're a police officer, you get to do that? And Die Hard, I'm in.
Yeah, oh totally.
It was a documentary, basically. What was that William Shatner show with, T.J. Hooker?
T.J. Hooker.
Yeah, who was his partner?
But Heather Locklear was in there.
That's what I was thinking of. Heather Locklear, yeah.
Yeah. She was kind of like the extra wheel.
They did a great SNL skit on that.
Oh.
with Shatner, where he was riding on a car.
That's funny.
The whole time.
That would make me watch SNL.
Yeah. There's some funny ones on there. I mean, I haven't watched it in a while, but
back when they were funny.
Yeah, I left SNL when Sandler did, so I think I'm dated.
Yeah. You're dated. You're so old.
Yeah, that's right.
Jeez. I left when Chevy Chase left. Jesus.
Oh man, that was the crew. Like those are the ones I'll watch the reruns of those. Like if you can find them on like TV Land or something. But that original crew, you'll never be able to beat that.
No, that was what I grew up with. But you see, I'm an old Man. So listen, what goes on with you then? Why are you getting into the writing world? Like, what made you jump into that? That's a transformation. And when you write, you kind of have to share a lot of yourself when you write. So I would imagine wouldn't that feel a little intimidating?
You know what? It's funny you mention that, but yeah, a little bit, because, and it going through, working, with the, in law enforcement and FBI and NCIS, they bang OPSEC into you so much, and, having a clearance and stuff like that throughout the career. So it's one of those things where whenever you're writing or whenever you're doing an interview, you get done, and at least for the next 2 hours, you're just like, man, I hope I didn't say anything stupid, right? You're like, man, I hope I didn't talk about something too much, right? So it's taken a while to get past that bit of trauma. But no, I've had a notebook, by my side or in my hand since I was in 6th grade. I think the writing thing came around, the same time I decided that I'd want to be a police officer. And I actually almost failed 6th grade math class because I decided to write a 55-page, story instead of paying attention in math class. And it was awful. It was absolutely awful. 55 pages handwritten in a notebook. But I was like, growing up, I started out with Peter Benchley's Jaws, and then I got into Crichton and Clancy and I'm just like, man, this is the stuff, right? The old time really cool back cover author photos, like Clancy, in a flight suit standing on the deck of an aircraft carrier. It's like, man, that's what writers get to do. I was like, I should probably do that too, But then you quickly realize, okay, you can't go from graduating high school to writing best-selling novels because you don't know anything. So it was one of those things that the ideas were there, and I couldn't figure out how to put a novel together until I was 36.
Yeah, it's definitely a process. But
yeah.
With your background, are you required to submit everything that you write to the government for review, or how does that work?
On the fiction side, for the first couple, I went through the process. I was with DHS when I started getting published, and I went through and asked them, I offered, and they were like, yeah, it's fiction. No, you're good. And I was like, all right, cool. So it was one of those things where I gave the synopsis and gave a summary of the first couple books, and if you look at it, I mean, there's nothing in the law enforcement world that you can't Google or spend an evening watching ID Discovery that you can't figure out. It's not like we don't have any secrets, that haven't been exploited in a grand way in the true crime world. So it's a little different for guys like Steve Stratton or Jack Carr that have to go through that process because they were in that more controlled world for certain amounts of their career,
Right.
And I just stick to cop work in my books, with a little bit of fantasy thrown in there just to see if I could pull it off. So it's not like I'm writing a spy thriller or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. You're not giving away the secrets.
No, I have no interest in doing that. That would cause a lot of problems.
Well, yeah. You end up on TV and, in court and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's not good for the retirement.
No.
So.
No. You're going to have to change your name, color your hair, do everything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's, try to make a run for it,
Yeah. Go to Canada.
Someplace. I guess that worked for some people, but you got to think of the place. If you're going to flee something, you need to be crooked enough to have Batman money. In the writing gig, won't provide Batman money. So unless I was able to disappear to someplace and live like Bruce Wayne, I don't think the price. They say everybody's got a price, but I don't think there's a price high enough to be able to disappear and live that way. And I have very, very special needs.
Yeah, of course you do. Beer is expensive in Canada, so you want to make.
Bourbon. Yeah. I mean, they do make decent bourbon and whiskey in Canada, I guess, but it's not Kentucky.
No, nothing's Kentucky in Canada.
I gotta live the good life. I'm the lamb.
Well, I have to wonder, but so what got you onto this? I mean, you kind of got into writing, but what got you onto this kind of writing, like your books, you kind of, how do I describe this? Because this newest book, Blood Red Ivory, now it's an NCIS agent transferred to East Africa where he must investigate the murder of a sailor. So it's kind of a military thriller. What was the reason for that?
Well, I came up with the main character, Tyrone Benhoff, and kind of, I read a ton in this job. You read, you write, and when I read, it seems like we've got, if you liken it to Police Academy, in the thriller world, we've got a whole lot of tackleberries, but not a whole lot of Mahonies. And I kind of just wanted to go the other way. I wanted, make a guy, based, not based on him, but, like the way, Bruce Willis portrays John McClane. He's not exactly a ninja, he's a complete wise ass. He's somebody that no supervisor would want on his squad in the real world, but he just, they pile on garbage on top of him and he somehow makes it through. So, that's where I think kind of a little more Mahoney than Tackleberry. And I wanted Ty to be that. And he's an amalgam of, all the coolest people I've worked with over the last 20 years. My favorite guys to go out on an investigation with were, just sarcastic, dark humored, just complete wise asses. But when the time came to get to work on the scene or go start doing interviews and interrogations, they're right on point, focused and getting the case done. So, that he came out of all of them, all the coolest people I've worked with over the last 20 years. And, so I created the character first and, I was trying to figure out, a kind of a cool, kind of exotic way to throw him in the mix. And, I stumbled across an article about the Akashinga, a group of, women, anti-poaching officers or rangers, part of the International Anti-Poaching Foundation, I think, out of Zimbabwe. And these women are all victims of abuse of some sort, domestic abuse, sexual abuse, somewhat. And the guy who created the unit is a former, Australian SAS who, moved out to Zimbabwe, wanted to get into the anti-poaching, fight, and created this group of all women that go out and protect rhinos, protect elephants on certain ranges throughout Zimbabwe. And I read that article, and there was a documentary on it too. And I'm like, man, I was so impressed by what I'm reading. And I love Africa. I spent 4 months in Djibouti, Africa, in the Horn of Africa. And so I was like, that's just a fantastic story. If I could do some sort of something to put those women in a book, I just wanted to write a story like that. I just was so inspired by it. So I took Ty and I put him in the as an NCIS agent. They're all civilian, and they're all throughout the world. That's kind of why I picked the NCIS as his agency, so that I could go any place in the world and be able to justify having an investigation or having him go through a story there. So he's kind of on the outs with his agency. He got on the wrong side of a certain assistant director, and the assistant director doing what he does, he threw him off to one of the most desolate field offices that he could think of. And so here's Ty sitting in Africa doing force protection surveys throughout other parts of Africa, and just with a supervisor with the express orders to drive him out of the agency. So when a sailor is murdered in Zimbabwe, he's the guy that gets the call, and he gets sent out there all by himself, no backup, no support, and he doesn't know it at the time, but he ends up being caught in the crossfire between these Akashinga rangers and a Ivory smuggling operation. So he just gets thrown in the mix, and he's got to figure it out all by himself, because nobody else is, his nearest backup is like a 4-hour helicopter ride. So there's nobody coming for him. So that's I just wanted to throw him in the mix, but try to keep it light, keep a little bit of humor involved in it. And that's how Blood Red Ivory came about. Really, I had the character first, and then came up with the setting and the plot behind it.
Story of my life. When you're doing something like that, but you've got to have some of yourself in that character, I'd imagine, and it's different for everyone. So how much of yourself is in there, and what is it that you share with that character that is the same as you?
I think I try to you know what? I never really focus on me, being Ty Benhoff, but yeah, in order to see it, I mean, there are certain things that come out of me, of things that I've seen in the law enforcement world that I want to, give people a chance to just show some of those things that you don't always see in true crime or in crime thrillers. Just keeping it as authentic as possible to the job of law enforcement, not glorifying, just the car chases and the action, but an investigator's priority in protecting the victim or telling the victim's story in this case. And it's one thing I learned, overseas working death cases, which we did do. When you're over there, even if it's a natural death that occurs, and they occur in expeditionary environments, or a suicide, what that you don't always note up in, back in the States, because back in the States, somebody has a work accident or somebody commits suicide, it's, you work it like a homicide until it's figured out that no, it's, it either ended up being a suicide or ended up being a work accident, and the case goes away relatively quickly. And when you're overseas, the thing that is different is that, overseas in an expeditionary environment, these families back home, they send these people out there, whether they're contractors, whether they're active duty military, reservists, they send them out there to the other side of the planet. And, when they get a notification that the worst has happened to them, they go through the same process of grieving, but the information is nowhere near what it is if it happens domestically, right? So when you're over there, it's kind of, you always want to keep that perspective of the victim, and not only the victim, but the victim's family, who want to know what happened to their loved one back home. But in the big machine of, the military expeditionary process or whatever organization, there might not be that much information. So the more information you can get, it doesn't have to be a homicide. It can be a natural death or a suicide, but the more information you can get that can be shared with the family will help them in that grieving process and help them with that closure. And I think that was one of Ty's main motivating factors in the case that he was sent out on. Is, this kid in this instance is murdered way out in the middle of nowhere in Zimbabwe, and for no other reason than at least being able to tell his mom what happened to her son just keeps him going as pressure mounts up, as the violence mounts up, as all these things get piled on top of him. The thing that's going to keep him going is being able to tell his mom what happened to him, just get her that kind of closure, if you can even say there's closure in a situation like that. But that's one of those things that I don't know if it always comes across in the thriller genre or in fiction whatsoever, but it is a concern that's shared by every agent that might be out there doing those types of investigations in, expeditionary environments. So I guess that'd kind of be one of them. And then the other one, just looking at a case and looking at the objective nature of running an investigation, stuff like that. My favorite parts of crime scenes, my favorite parts of surveillances, stuff like that. That's the stuff I enjoyed. I'm going to write stuff I enjoyed, as an investigator. And for me, it was, interview and interrogation and crime scenes. I fell in love with those aspects of law enforcement, the further I went. So he gets to go out and do a crime scene all by himself out in lion country. He's told by everybody he runs into in Zimbabwe that he's going to end up eating, has a standoff with a bull elephant, stuff like that. The stuff that, would kind of be hilarious, if it weren't for the fact that he's all by himself in the middle of the jungle, right?
Well, you also mentioned action. How do you construct your action and your fight scenes? Do you draw from your background and your training, or do you just use a lot of imagination for those things?
I luckily was never had to be a gunslinger. I never actually had to be in a shooting. Never was in a shooting, which is a good thing. Nobody in law enforcement goes into it hoping to be a gunfighter. Unfortunately, there are those statistics. But no, for me, the one thing that I always base my action off of is that in law enforcement, you're the last one to know that you're about to be punched. We don't get to go into a situation going in there, just going in hot and just laying waste to and then, beating everybody down and then figuring out what happened, right? So, law enforcement there's always the reactionary gap. So in any given circumstance, you go into a situation, you can gauge people's behavior, you can gauge people's movements, pre-assault indicators, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you don't get to be the one who chooses when the fight starts. And I like to keep that when I'm choreographing my action or when I'm creating tension in a scene, is that we're the last ones to know we're about to be in a fight, because everybody else around us, we go into places and we're the last ones into the situation. We got to catch up on what happened in a situation, and everybody else who's there is already on the same page, right? Unless they're actively trying to beat each other down. It suddenly becomes very unifying experience for people when law enforcement shows up and they decide very quickly, are we going to comply or are we not? And we only have the information we're given. So when it comes to writing action, like for Ty, it's he's out in the middle of nowhere. He doesn't even know all the players that are involved, and I write it that way specifically. If my character doesn't have the information, my reader's not getting information either. So when I write it, when Ty's the last one to know, he doesn't know until the shots start, and he doesn't even know why there's shots firing, right? So when he's under attack, he's got that reactionary gap that all law enforcement have to deal with, and it's about a half second, depending on circumstances. So I like to keep that's the last. I like to keep that reaction versus reactionary. Action versus reaction flowing through when I write my action scenes, and then I'll write based on. I have done a little bit. I'm not exactly an expert in fighting, and neither is Ty. So it's basically, you've got the training that you've been given over your career. I've done some extra stuff on the side just to keep myself in shape, and jiu-jitsu and some other martial arts over time, but I'm nowhere near an expert in anything. So I'll use those, but I'll also use them in a way that me being not much more than a novice would use them. Basically just sloppy. Ty's just in a fight. He's got to figure out his way out of the fight. So I'll use stuff that I've done over time, but I don't want him to be a ninja. That's not why I wrote him. He's a regular cop, and regular cops aren't ninjas. They're just very tenacious when somebody comes at them, because that's it. What are they going to do? So you got to be able, sometimes you got backup, sometimes you don't, but you have no choice in the matter. You have to figure out a way to succeed.
Right. Yeah. Dave's a ninja.
I'm not a ninja.
Well, no, you can see Dave, he's got his YouTube channel and he does all the sticks and
ninja
I've been involved in martial arts for a long time.
Yeah, he gets on there, throws sticks at people and runs and yeah.
When I was, I realized that my biggest strength in jiu-jitsu was getting choked. Not exactly applying chokes, but I'm really good at getting
That's
choked.
all part of the fun.
That's right. Yep. It's like, why do you keep going back to that? Oh, well, apparently I've got a skill at getting, people like to punch me and they like to choke me. So that's...
Personally, my biggest thing is to watch it on TV. That's my skill.
Yeah. I like that better.
So okay, now this is always a weird question, but what's your relationship with Ty and any of your other characters? And when you finish a book, do they disappear, or do you stay with them? Do they stay with you? What's your relationship like?
It's fun. It's a great way of putting it, is a relationship, right? Because I'm pretty sure that we'd all say the same thing, that if our characters actually knew who we were, they'd kill us, because we're the ones that throwing them into the meat grinder all the time. But no, Ty is, I'm always coming up with ideas, mapping out what I want Ty to do next. What kind of arc is he going to follow? Is he going to be, is he going to be a static, action thriller, character over time, or is he going to have that progression in life that all of us do? And so there's that conversation, that goes on. I guess it's not much of a conversation. It's me writing notes, but I do try to figure out what's his arc going to be. Cause I don't think, I don't know if it would feel, fair to him to do 20 books of, a new action sequence of the week, with him without letting him progress as as just a human being. It's all fun and games until then then life, having a great time in your 20s, single, just working cases, traveling, going all different places. And then you settle down, and then the priority shifts very quickly to family and kids, and how do you balance that? And, what do those dynamics look like for a character in a crime thriller series? So I'm kind of leaning on that way and just kind of playing with those dynamics, but it's all up in the air. It's all what makes sense when the plot comes. There are other characters I've had in the past though that like, you get down to it and it's like, oh, I really like this character, but I'm sorry, but you have to die. Right. And I've gotten a lot of hate mail on some of those decisions I've made. Some of my earlier books, Brother's Keeper and Spoilers, I had a great female detective that I probably could have written for a long time, and she just ran into the wrong part of the plot. And as I'm writing, I'm like, man, there's only one thing to do. And like, this is a career cut short. So take her out. The book comes out and immediately people are like, why did you kill her? I'm like, well, because I had to keep the story going. So, sadly.
Did you find it hard to kill her off? Was it like an emotional investment in this character?
It was, yeah, she was just so cool. In Spoilers, I had, she was never meant to be a main character. It was written as, following a narcotics unit who, stumbles onto, an international arms trafficking ring running through, their city, and, kind of a hunters become the hunted type thing. And, right from the third page, she just pops out on the page as just being a badass, but actually the brains and the maturity of the outfit. And then another, the antagonist, was a, female assassin, who was like Joker level crazy when she came out on the page. And I was like, man, she is awesome. She was so awesome. I had to write another book because I had to bring her back. So the females completely took over that storyline. And when it came down to it, it was like, you're setting up a chessboard for that final climax. And, there's Poppy sitting right there. And it's like, the only way to make this cool is if you go. So it was unfortunate. It was an unfortunate writing experience, but it made for a really good ending. So there is that.
How long have you been having an affair with her?
My wife knows fully. She knows all about it. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, she understands. She understands how I feel about Poppy and Bianca.
Oh, there's two of them.
The crazy assassin's name was Bianca, and that kind of Joker level crazy is probably fun at the bar, but it's not something you want to take home to the family. Oh, so
he's a player,
but no, I'm not. I don't have. I couldn't. I don't understand people who are, because I don't have that kind of energy.
Well, yeah, it gets harder as you get older.
Yeah, and it would get expensive. It would get really expensive. I don't have the time either.
No, too messy. Way too messy. So, listen, what do you want people to get out of your books? Do you have a purpose, some sort of a meaning when you write a book, or is it just completely entertainment and you're just letting her loose?
It's pretty much, I want people to be able to sit down, get lost, just have a great time. And when they hit that last page, they realize that they need a minute. Like they just, out of breath. I want them to have so much fun reading, get absorbed in the story, and just be like, whew, that was a good one. I do, themes that run through all my books are kind of, resilience and just kind of, just the dedication to getting the job done, regardless of the trouble piled on top of them. Brotherhood and one of them, Brother's Keeper, was big on unity, and then tenacity and spoilers is pretty much just different themes that I think are all related to law enforcement, or pretty much any vocation probably.
Do you think about the violence on the page as you write it?
It's the way I write is I'll come up with my original ideas, come up with my characters. I'll plot out, I'll start out plot out a hook. Plot out an ending, the ending climax, and then kind of roadmap my way of how I get there. And then I'll take that outline that I spent so much time on, I'll close the page, and I'll start writing, and really it ends up being I'm writing the movie in my head, and every day when my writing session is done, I hit pause, and then I come back and boom. Of course, the fight scenes and the car chases are the coolest parts, right? So they're the most fun. They're the most fun to write. But yeah, as far as mapping out the violence, it's I want it to be just authentic. I don't want it to feel like it's a choreographed dance. I just want it to be, just angry and get it over with as soon as possible. Just like a regular fight would be, really.
Well, talking about outlining, you said you figured out how to write a novel, like by the time you were 36. Did you have a process for that? Did you take classes? Did you dissect someone else's novel? What was your process?
I tried taking some classes in college and didn't really stick. Like, I had plenty of ideas, but I couldn't figure out how to actually just get down to it and write the book. So when I went to grad school at, Go Gators, University of Florida, I went to grad school for forensic science. And so I spent 2 years, and my process would be I would come into work about an hour and a half early, when nobody's around. I would do my research, do my writing, get all my assignments done. And then when the bell sounded to start the workday, I'd just go to work, right? So I get done with my grad degree, and I'm still in that mode of waking up early every day and coming in to get work done. So I'm sitting there, what do I do with this? And so I just broke out an old outline and refreshed it and kind of came up with an idea I wanted to try, outlined it out, hook, climax. And I came in with, I just kept that time frame during every day, with a goal of 500 words a day. And, 6-8 months later, I'm looking at a draft. I was like, holy crap. I was like, that actually worked. So I think my problem always was that I never, the idea of being an author is awesome. But at some point you have to write. So, and I think it was simply, I lacked the maturity, to look at it as another vocation and set out office hours, so to speak, right? So when the grad school forced me into that process, and I think that's where the maturity came from, to just dedicate that specific time as a second job to getting that writing done, and that's how I was able to lay it out and get it done. But to your point, like studying other authors, trying to figure out how people go about plotting. That I always did that over the years, and it was like it never just clicked. It didn't click until I got done with that grad degree.
Yeah. Whatever you do, don't read any of my books.
Are you one of those just no outline guys? You just go?
Who, me? No, yeah.
Yeah, is that how do you do it?
Yeah. But you see, a lot of my stories, 30 of the books are nonfiction true crime, and they're taken after a true story, so they're kind of outlined for me. It's about getting the information. So when I do fiction like I'm doing now, no, it's more about the character and what you're going to put them through. But the characters are more important, right? For me, I think I like having a character that people can relate to, and I wrote Ty that way. Like, his name's Tyrone Benhoff. It's not like he's Mitch Moneymaker or Cliff Diver or something like that, some action hero name. It's he's just a normal Wick
guy. Comes from. Yeah, he's not John Wick. He is definitely not John Wick, but he's just a normal, everyday guy just put in extraordinary circumstances, and I like keeping it that way. I just think he's approachable. He's not like somebody that you think is gonna, come and save the day every time.
Do you think people get it wrong when they're trying to write cops, or even on shows nowadays and movies and stuff? Do we have not a great realistic image of what cops are?
I think there's some that do it well and some that don't. But I hardly even watch network TV anymore. It's just so hard because it's written in such a vanilla way that and politics has to be seeped in, and any given whatever the cause of the week is has to be seeped into their plot lines, and it's like and it's so there's very few that I watch. I do. Because I'm a giant Nathan Fillion fan, I have watched The Rookie in the past, and I spend about half of it shaking my head and the other half thinking, if they just listened to their technical advisor more, this would be a really cool show. Right? So there's moments where that somehow that show manages to capture cop culture in 1 minute and then completely destroy it in the next. But in those moments, it's really well written. But like every show, if you've got an hour show, what have you got actually after commercials, like 30 minutes to tell a story, and every cop gets in a gunfight every week, and they're not put on 30 days leave. So it's like, it's just, I don't know. I don't think you can write that police life right without just glamorizing it. And you have to do that with everything, but no, it's, I'm a big fan of, On Patrol Live. I just love, I love watching them work, and just watching, the way these officers know how to talk to people and handle people and communicate with people. I think that's what people miss a lot about, the law enforcement world is they're some of the best communicators possible. They can talk to any person, to gain information, calm a situation down, just figure out the situation, and any police officer who's on patrol, just getting reps over time within a year or two. Those people are expert communicators and can walk into any given situation and be able to talk to any human on the planet. They just have that. I think that's the strongest strength of law enforcement. And of course you can't glamorize that very well.
No.
So that doesn't make it into the TV shows, right?
It would be boring, if it's too much.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, so you're telling me Queen Latifah can't really walk into a room and knock 10 men out and not break a neck?
I couldn't be a part of that show. I didn't even watch the pilot. I was like, oh
yeah.
Man, no.
I know it's crazy how they have someone that's, and they're wearing heels and they're not in the best shape, and then they go in and all of a sudden they walk out of the room and all 10 men are knocked over dead. It's like
yeah. It's funny at my house. My wife's a nurse, and with me being in law enforcement, it's very hard for us to settle on a show. She puts on Grey's Anatomy. I don't even know if that show's still on, but she puts on, if Grey's Anatomy's on, she's yelling at the TV within 5 minutes because somebody's not wearing gloves or breaking the sterile field in surgery or something other. I'm like, wow, that's stressful. But then if she puts on a cop show and they got a crime scene and David Caruso's walking through making cool one-liners, but he's not wearing gloves and he's putting his glasses in his mouth and touching evidence, I start losing it. I'm like, okay, let's just put on some stand-up comedy and call it a day.
When in doubt, turn on John Wick. He shoots everyone.
Yeah. See, John Wick, I can just shut it all off and watch Keanu do his thing, and I'm like, yeah, man.
Yeah,
I love it.
Kind of reminds you of what it would be like if you went to the mall. Anyway, that's terrible. I'm terrible.
No, I don't think you'll ever beat Arnold Schwarzenegger at the mall in Commando.
Yeah,
that's Arnold Schwarzenegger is the one to tell us that's how it goes down at the mall.
Yeah, going shopping. Yeah,
going shopping.
Mall cop. How's that? Well, listen, we're glad you came on. Now, of course, Blood Red Ivory. And now, what's your social media and website and all that for listeners so they can find you? You hang out at a bar? Do you go to where do people find?
Oh, I don't have time for bars anymore. I got 2 little kids, so it's I stopped taking them to bars when they were 3.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, trying to be a good parent.
They turn on
but no, I'm on IG and I guess X now at John Stamp Writer, and website's johnstampriter.com. The podcast That's Criminal with John Stamp is on Apple, Spotify, pretty much anywhere you find the podcast, and it's up on my website. So that's the easiest way to find me. I'm not hard to find.
Well, we'll have all that up on our website. People can find you and stuff. We'll have your Tinder information too.
Oh yeah. That just actually the wife doesn't know
OnlyFans.
So we're gonna have to, my OnlyFans is a really good stream of revenue, and all I got to do is show my feet. And I'm good. So,
there you go.
You just got to find the niche. You just got to find the niche on that site, and you're all good. I can even keep my clothes on most of the time.
Most of the time. See, we're not gonna ask that.
That just went sideways.
Wow, you're in trouble. Well, again, thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was great talking to you guys.
Thanks, John.
You've been listening to the House of Mystery radio show. To find out more about our guests, hosts, or shows, go to www.houseofmystery.com.
Show's over for now.
Was it as good for you as it was for me?
Yeah. Good night.
This has been a production of Something Weird Media.
I'll be back.